until we die. But death, though it demarcates one boundary of our life, does not pass judgment on our life. If it did, it would only come to some, or it would only come in certain circumstances, or it would never come in other circumstances, but it comes eventually to all of us. But it comes in so many different ways to each of us, to all of us, that we're inclined to try to make meaning out of the way that somebody died and to say that some people deserved death. That's what fear and hatred say. It is never what love says. Death is stark. It's final. It's definitive. Until it's happened, it hasn't, and after it's happened, it has. And it seems so clear, especially compared to love, which seems so nebulous. Yet it's love that shapes our lives and gives them meaning. Death is a part of life, but it is not what gives it meaning. But the paradox of death coming to all of us does allow us to find new meaning, new freedom, new purpose when we face or even embrace it. Not because it tells us about the meaning of our lives, but because it brings us to grips with our lives fully. Jesus' death did teach us about the worst that human beings can do. It brought to bear the worst of organized religion. It brought to bear the worst of society and politics and government. It brought to bear the worst of greed and control and fear. When we think of how Jesus died, we see the worst that we can do. James Cone, the great black theologian, described Jesus' cross as the first lynching tree, and Jesus as the first lynchee. And that, in turn, lynching in America, which is similarly a vision of the worst we can do, was a re-crucifixion and another re-crucifixion and 1,000 more re-crucifixions again and again, showing us the worst we can do. And Jesus in his death taught us how love responds. Not an eye for an eye, not declaring that one murder deserves another, nor that some people are only valuable for what they can do for others, and that the others determine whether they're valuable enough to keep around or should be killed. Rather, accepting that such fear and rejection and cruelty are indeed things that people do. Jesus died in freedom from letting that fact define his life. Because death comes to all of us, and because we are so clearly made to live, and because love is so clearly the driving force behind life, as Jesus accepts his own death, he is free to continue to let love shape his life. You and I, likewise, are free to let love shape our lives. Today we are brought face to face with death and invited to recognize that fear and greed do not need to have any hold on us. We are free to live by love. And that freedom is not limited by death. Jesus showed us the way. And a couple of days from now, we will see God's stamp of approval when the stone is rolled back and death clearly does not have the last word.